Thank you everyone for joining us for the Coding Room's Professional Development Day 2022. We're very excited for all of the different presentations throughout the day. We have quite an amazing lineup of some of the most wonderful people I know around the country with some amazing presentations. To start off, we have Jen Manly from CSTA that would like to do a bit of an introduction and a call for kind of CSTA membership. So if you're not aware of CSTA, it's an absolutely wonderful organization. One of the biggest supports that I had as an instructor, as a teacher throughout my 10 years teaching. And to this day, I'm still CSTA Rhode Island president, just because they want to keep me along, I guess. But and it's an absolute wonderful organization. So Jen.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and make sure I have captions on. Okay. Hi, everyone. If I haven't met you before, my name is Jen Manly, and I am CSTA's Membership Engagement Manager. I am a former K-12 classroom teacher. I recently left the classroom at the end of last school year. So I first taught middle school CS and then taught high school computer science. And I'm actually going to be continuing on adjuncting one course at the University of Maryland each semester, our Intro to CS for Non-Majors course. So I'll still be a computer science teacher, and then I have this role in a different capacity. But I am so excited to be sharing about CSTA with you. CSTA, if you're not aware, is the Computer Science Teachers Association. I always like to tell people about my time with CSTA. So before I joined staff, I've been a CSTA member since 2018. I went to my first in-person CSTA conference in Omaha, Nebraska in 2018. And I always like to tell people that it was the first time that I didn't feel alone as a computer science teacher. So at the time I was teaching middle school CS, I was one of 3 middle school computer science teachers in my entire district, and obviously the only one in my building. And at the time I was teaching 4 courses. This probably sounds familiar to a lot of you. 4 courses, 3 of them didn't have curriculum, and I felt like I was alone and overwhelmed a lot of the time. And I actually remember this exact moment where in 2018, I'm sitting at the last lunch of the CSTA conference, and I kind of look around me and I'm like, wait a minute, even though I'm alone in my district, even though I'm alone in my building, I am surrounded by this community of other computer science teachers and people that for the rest of my time as a CS teacher, I was able to tap into and work with to feel connected and supported in that role. So that is what CSTA is. CSTA is a global community of computer science teachers. We have nearly 20,000 members throughout the United States and internationally. It's primarily K-12 computer science teachers, but we also have higher education faculty, researchers, district supervisors, administrators, and other advocates of computer science education. I went ahead and put a bit.ly if you're interested in joining at any point. We have 2 types of membership. So we have basic membership, which is totally free. So we're actually one of the only professional organizations for teachers that offers a totally free membership. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely take advantage of it. And then we also have a CSTA Plus membership that is $50 annually, but includes tons of benefits that are so helpful to your practice. So the first thing we like to say is by joining CSTA, you are joining the world's largest computer science department. So again, many of you are probably the only one or one of a few in your building. But by joining CSTA, you are joining a department of people just like you. So for CSTA Plus members, that means that you can apply for and receive CSTA awards. This includes our Teaching Excellence Award. This past year, we awarded 10 national, well, international, really, Computer Science Teaching Excellence Awards in coordination with Infosys. And those awards are to classroom teachers and offer a $7,500 prize to each of those 10 winners. We also offer regional awards and honorable mentions that also come with a cash prize. We have a CSTA Plus member newsletter that includes lots of different benefits. You receive a digital subscription to ACM's Inroads magazine, which is wonderful for like getting research-based best practices, and you'll receive access to discounted classroom materials. As a basic member and also a plus member, you also can join again, that global and local community of CS Ed advocates and CS Ed teachers. So we have, like Joe said, he is the CSTA Rhode Island president. We have a whole community of local chapters who offer local programming. So if you're wanting to tap into your community close to home, as a basic member or a plus member, you can join your local chapter. And local chapters, I'm sure Joe can tell you more about this, but local chapters offer both virtual and in-person events to not only connect with the community, but also to grow professionally. So there's opportunities to present, opportunities to learn from other CS teachers. And honestly, like Joe, you can agree, hopefully. I think that our local chapters are one of the most amazing things about CSTA because, like I said, for many of us, that's a way to tap into that larger community right at home. We also have our virtual communities. So both basic and plus members have the opportunity to join our virtual communities. And we have lots of different affinity groups, grade band groups, and then just like general discussion boards. And so that's a great way to connect. And we offer the CSTA student and teacher standards, both searchable and downloadable on our website. So whether you're a basic member or a plus member, you have access to that. I think another thing that CSTA offers that obviously you all are very interested in professional development. For many of you, it's still the summer and you are here plugged in for a full day of PD, and CSTA offers some of the best CS teacher PD around. So as a plus member, you receive discounted registration for our annual conference and our biannual virtual summit. So we do one-day summits virtually 2 to 3 times a year, typically twice, but sometimes there's a third, that are focused on content and pedagogy and exclusively for computer science teachers. As a plus member, you get discounts to that. You also get free registration for our professional learning series, which happens multiple times throughout the year, typically 1 to 3 hour webinars, and then like involved hands-on virtual PD as well. You also have access to free and discounted PD opportunities, including resources to help you prepare for the praxis. So if you need to pass the CS praxis and you don't know where to start, there are some really great partner benefits through CSTA that are discounted for you to be able to study and prepare. You'll also gain access to our on-demand PD sessions and resources. So we have recordings from past virtual summits and virtual conferences, as well as linked resources that are available to Plus members. And then we actually just launched our on-demand CS educator courses. So these are like certified PD courses that are run through Coursera, but are only available to CSTA Plus members. We just launched 2 courses, and throughout the year, we'll continue to release more on-demand courses that you can take advantage of. Basic members can, of course, attend CSTA's annual conference and attend those professional learning series and virtual summits. And then the other thing that is so great about CSTA is it's an opportunity to take on leadership roles to continue to grow professionally. So CSTA Plus members are able to serve as chapter leaders on CSTA committees or on the board of directors. They're also able to apply to be equity fellows. So the equity fellowship through CSTA is this amazing stipended opportunity for CS teachers who are excited about, passionate about equity in CS education to grow in their professional practice related to equity and CS education in a cohort. So we select a cohort of equity fellows each year from all over the country and sometimes internationally who are invested in, they choose a project that they're really passionate about with regards to CS equity and CS education, and they work together within this cohort to grow and bring that project to life and then present on it. That application is actually currently open. So if you are interested in it, definitely apply. You can find it on our website, and applications for that close on August 11th. And then finally, you also can apply to be a CSHS advisor. So that's the Computer Science Honor Society. We have over 200 chapters in the US. So that is a US opportunity for teachers to lead CS Honor Society chapters at their school. I'm going to check the chat for questions, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for everything you do for your students. Teaching is a tough job, but one of the most impactful jobs I think that you can have. And your students are lucky to have teachers who are so invested in their professional growth so that they can best serve students. My email is there too if you need it. Yeah, go Terps. Yay. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Oh, thanks, Victoria. Yeah, if you attended my sessions, thank you. CSTA was really fun a couple weeks ago. So
CSTA was great. It was great to have it back in person, and
I agree.
had a really great time. So if you are not part of a local chapter, as Jen mentioned, it is often referred to as the heart of CSTA, the local chapters. And it is an amazing experience to collaborate with people around you. One of the best aspects of my career is all the collaboration that I've done through my local CSTA here in Rhode Island. So it's an amazing thing. So look for your local chapter, figure out how you can collaborate with those people. If you don't have a chapter nearby, you may want to start a local chapter. But I believe there's one in pretty much every state. I think there's one state that's a holdout, they were saying. I can't think of it.
No, we officially have one in every state now. So but you might need one that's closer to you. So definitely look into it. You only need to be a basic member to be a chapter member so that you can make sure you get all of the communication. But yeah, definitely apply. And hopefully if you're not a CST member, you will be soon. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. So membership at csteachers.org. Send them an email. Again, I encourage you very much, and Coding Rooms loves the partnership that we have with CSTA, and it's an absolute wonderful organization for teachers.
Great.
Next, we have an absolutely wonderful keynote from the awesome Bob Irving. I'm going to spotlight. I spotlighted the wrong person. Sorry, I misclicked. Harris, I got on spotlight. There we go. There's Bob now in the spotlight. And Bob's going to kick off his keynote here for us. There are his resources over on the Coding Rooms course. I'll share out that link one more time for everybody if you didn't get it. Bob's an awesome person I've met through CSTA and in the Raspberry Pi Foundation also. So I think you'll really enjoy everything he has to say. Without further ado, go ahead, Bob.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Joe, and Jen, and Harris for having me. And kudos to all of you for showing up on your summer vacation. How many of you are tired of having people say, hey, you get the whole summer off? My answer is always, I teach middle school students. And they're like, oh God, you get it. Okay, I get it. You can have that. So my name is Bob Irving. I'm going to share, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I think on further reflection, I think it might be good for me to share my Prezzo. If you want to follow along, it's in the resources, but it might help a little bit. So I'm going to do that. There we go. Okay. So you can read this if you'd like, but I'm going to start the way that I started a tradition during the pandemic when I was teaching remotely of starting every class with a dad joke. It's an idea that I stole from a professor of something on Twitter. And you know what? Everybody loves/hates dad jokes, right? So it's just the way we're going to start. Now, if you think you know the answer, drop it into the chat. Actually, do I have the chat up here? I don't think I have the chat showing. So maybe somebody, is there riding the chat? You can tell me if anybody said it. So here's it's always kind of a question answer. So the question is this. I had a guy yesterday try to sell me a coffin, starting with a little dark humor, sorry. Tried to sell me a coffin. I said no. My answer was, if you think you know what my answer was to his question about why I did not want to buy a coffin, throw that in the chat. I'll wait a second here, see if anybody gets it. 'Cause I'm not seeing the chat for some reason. So if you think
I'm
you
here,
know,
Bob, too. So, but no one knows yet.
okay, I'm just going to go because, time is of the essence. I said, that's the last thing I need.
Bye-bye.
I know. Okay. I've set the bar so low that the rest of the prezzo can go nowhere but up. We all love / hate dad jokes, but there. And I taught middle school for the last 20 years. And when I started it, my students would call me on it every day if I didn't start the class with it. So go figure. Anyway, so my presentation I've called Hard Fun. I'll talk a little bit about that. Engaging computer science students with hands-on, project-based, just-in-time learning. And I'll explain what all that means. My name is Bob Irving, AKA Crouching Python, which is my avatar name on YouTube and many other places. If you want some credentials, okay, I'm a Raspberry Pi certified educator. I'm a Minecraft global mentor. I have recently retired 2 months ago from full-time in-person classroom instruction for a long time. And I've taught computer science middle school and upper school for the last 20 years. And I'm moving on to the next phase. But anyway, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina, if that means anything to you. Okay. So I actually was a little nervous about giving a kind of a practical keynote because Joe said, tell us about what you do and how you do it. And I said, well, so many keynotes sound kind of general. And I'm afraid mine isn't. And his response, I'm sorry to quote you, Joe, was, yeah, but they're also boring. So we'll try to get around that. So we've all had it. Now I'm going to talk about what the thing that I've developed. It's a little bit different, or maybe a lot different. I'm not claiming it's the only way to do things. I'm not claiming I have all the answers. It's not a silver bullet by any means, but I have learned some things, and I know that what I have developed over time works. Now, I know that all of it is not going to work for everybody, but I know it's worked for me, and hopefully you're going to find a couple of nuggets that you can take with you and try in your classrooms, okay? So that's why. So let's get started. So my background is longtime teacher, as I said, just retired, CS middle school and upper school for the last 20 years. And I am one of those people that every school says their mission, school mission statements, we love them, right? Their mission is to create lifelong learners. And I'm actually one of those people. I'm an addict. I can't help it. I love learning. That's why I got into computer science. I actually started as an English and history teacher. And halfway through my career, I went back to school to learn coding because I just, nothing against English, but Hamlet never changes, ever. But coding always changes. So there's always something new to learn every day. All right. And once you think you've mastered it, bam, it's a moving target. And I like that. So anyway, I'm a big believer in big projects, hands-on learning. And so I go with this quotation from one of my heroes, Seymour Papert, who is really kind of the godfather or the grandfather of kids and coding. And he said, the role of the teacher is to create the conditions for invention rather than provide ready-made knowledge. And that is my mantra for teaching. I know there's lots of ways to do it, but I'm telling you, this is what I believe, and this is kind of what I've tried. So it's not just kind of pie in the sky, okay? So who takes my courses? So I taught every student in grades 5 through 8. My school middle school was grades 5 through 8, and I was on a rotation, so I had all of them for about 10 weeks. So that meant something a little bit different because every student took my course, every student in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, okay? And so I had to make sure that I got every student engaged and learning, because engagement's the key to learning, right? If I had taught it as an elective, it would be different because you get the nerd herd, right? These are the kids that they're going to sign up. You don't even have to advertise the course. They're going to be banging your door down. When can we start? What are we doing? What's this, So that's a particular way to teach because you've already got them on board. But I did not have that. Okay. So I have this range of experience and interest. I've got the kids who've been doing coding for years and know some stuff inside out. And then and this is not an exaggeration, I have kids who didn't know how to turn the computer on and had no interest. And I've had so many people say when they come into my class, well, I'm not a coder. Of course, my answer is, you're not a coder yet. Not yet. Hang on. Okay. So I try to have an accessible on-ramp so they can get in and get into it, but with very high ceilings. So they can get in wherever they are and they can go as far as they can go. So that kind of defines kind of why I did what I do. Okay. So here's what my approach includes. First of all, minimal front-loaded explanation or instruction. Now, high schoolers are a little bit better, but I'm telling you, middle schoolers do not want to hear me talk. I think I'm a really interesting person, and I think I've got really interesting stuff to say, and I think they would really love it. Guess what? They could care less. They want to get going, okay? So I give as little front-loaded explanation or instruction as possible. It sounds backwards, I know, but trust me, it works. Then I find engaging big projects. By big, I mean a month's worth. Okay, so we met every day for 45 minutes, 10 weeks, okay? And I base them on student interest. So I'm happy to try different platforms. So my curriculum includes robotics and game design, physical computing with Raspberry Pis and microbits, creative coding with Sonic Pi and processing, lots of Minecraft, okay? Now, I arrived at all of those by trying them out. And I was happy to dump something if kids weren't interested. If it didn't engage them, I try it for a day, 2, and then I dump it. It's not working. So I try to find things that they would love, all right? I have very clear rubrics for assessment. So we don't just say, oh, everybody just get started and build something cool. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster, as you know, right? So I have rubrics. I'll share one with you a little bit with what I call fudge space. In other words, I say, here's what you can do, here's what you can do, here's what you do, this is worth this many points, this is worth this many points. But I always leave this, what I call the extra 10 points for Mr. Irving's extra awesomeness, okay? Where you can create something of your own. And I also say, look, I'll negotiate the points with you. Like for instance, I don't know, you have to have 2 events that make sounds happen. And a student says, well, I didn't do that, but I made my game multiplayer. And I say, I'd say that might be worth the 10 points. So I'm willing to negotiate with students. All right. Now, the other thing though, is I don't just leave them bereft of any instruction. I just said I don't do a lot up front. So I have video resources and print resources that are available for just-in-time learning. And I'm going to talk about those in a minute. I'll talk about how that works. So I have a YouTube channel, for instance, where I have videos on coding in Python and Scratch and Minecraft and Sonic Pi and all this kind of stuff. But that's for what I call just-in-time learning. Okay, and then once everybody gets started, I do MBWA, which stands for Management by Walking Around. All right, and so everybody gets started. They pick their project. We'll talk about how that works. And I wander around the classroom trying to help people, see how everybody's doing, checking in on people, managing by walking around. All right. I found out from my iPhone that I put about 2 miles a day just in my classroom, which is not a big classroom. Okay. But in all my classes, about 2 to 2.5 miles a day of me walking around. How you doing? The other thing I do is that I enlist student expertise when it's needed. So somebody figures out how to do something, they then become the expert. I go to the next kid and they say, how do you do that? And I say, oh, you got to check with that person there. They're the expert. Okay. And so that kind of makes the learning grow. All right. So this is kind of the basics of what my approach includes. Now, these are the things that I don't do. I do not start with computer science definitions. Sorry. All right. Variables. Students, today we're going to learn about variables. A variable is something that holds a value. I mean, what? They have no idea. What does that mean? Okay. So they could care less. So I do never start with that. Okay. So the real learning takes place in the context of a need that the student has. So I'm going to give you demos of one unit that I do, which is the Scratch game design unit, which I've always done in 7th grade for whatever reason, could be anywhere. All right. So when they want to know how to do it, that is the teachable moment. And if you can slide in there. So for instance, I get the thing, how do I make the score go up? I've got this buffalo and it's chasing the cheese puffs. And I want the score to go up every time the buffalo hits the cheese puffs. How do I do that? And I say, well, I'm so glad you asked. That is called a variable. And here's how we do it. Okay. And of course I have a video on my YouTube channel that tells them exactly how to do it. So I don't have to stand there and explain it to each person as I go through. I've got, we average about 20 kids in a class. Okay. All right. So I don't start with CS definitions of variables. I wait for the teachable moment. They're engaged. They've chosen their project. I know that it's the kind of platform that they like. So they want to know. And as teachers, we know if you can get the want to know, you've got it nailed, really, right? So anyway, I don't start, that's just the way I do it. I don't assign homework. I know this is a huge discussion, but I just don't. Partly because all of the stuff works in my room on my Windows 10 computers, and I don't know what they have at home, so can't do it. But that's okay, I don't mind that. That's a discussion for another day. I also don't answer student questions right away. I have on my board, ask 3 before me. Or I'll say, hey, I'm glad you asked that question. There's a really amazing video on that on YouTube. That's on my channel. Or I say, who else have you asked? And if they say nobody, okay? So there's a reason that I do this, okay? I want them to think and engage. I'm not holding out, but I'm not going to be the source, all right? And the last thing is I don't promise that it will be easy. It's called hard fun for a reason, all right? I tell them this is kind of how it works, okay? It's fun. It's fun to make games, but it's hard because it's hard to get the things you want working, and they don't work. And not you're a computer science teacher, nothing works the first time, ever. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe you had a good breakfast and you're living right. I don't know. But generally, nothing works the first time. Okay. That's hard. Okay. So I tell them that day one. It's called hard fun. This is what we're doing. So you don't know what I mean today. In a week, you will. Trust me. Okay. So we're going to do a sample unit here. Okay. And I'm just going to talk about kind of how it goes, just to give you some practicalities here. It's not just kind of, let's just jump in and do random stuff. Okay. So I start with day one. I give them a little bit I do talk on day one, and I give them the intro Scratch. What is Scratch? Where did it start? What's the history of it? And I know I'm really dating myself here, but I was doing Scratch before it was Scratch. Anybody know what preceded Scratch? I bet nobody knows now. It was called Squeak. Same thing, from the Lifelong Learning Lab at MIT, block-based, helping kids code. And so So I go way back with Scratch. And so I give them a little bit of that, talk about how it started, what their goals were. It's from MIT. I've got pictures that I show of me there at the Lifelong Learning Lab next to the Scratch Cat Lego statue and stuff. It kind of, makes it kind of a little bit personal. So then we have what I call Sandbox Day. So that's maybe 15 minutes. And I call it Sandbox Day because I say, kids, it's like you're in the sandbox and you're just playing. It's not supervised. When you were out on the kindergarten playground and you're playing the sandbox, you didn't have some teacher telling you, look, make sure you take the truck, move the sand over here. After you do that, build this, no, you just get in there and play. And I'm a huge believer that play is good. Okay. It's big learning. So anyway, we're having Sandbox Day. And I said, okay, so here's the basics. I said, down here on the left, we have all of these color-coded categories for blocks, and there's movement and sound and all these kinds of things. And I show them a thing or two, show them how to repeat this, something, the Scratch Cat spinning or something. And I say, go, just play. And they jump in and they're excited. And they're going, oh my gosh. Oh, look, oh my gosh. So somebody gets something cool. Everybody's, how did you do that? So it kind of builds that kind of excitement and familiarity with the coding environment. So we have Sandbox Day. Day 2, we do the game design document. Let's see if I can pull this up here. So I have, it's nothing fancy, just this game design document is right. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, hope we're all seeing that. Okay, and I think honestly, I stole this from somewhere off the internet years ago, but so I say you have to know where you're going before you start. You can't just make it up as you go along. That's not how games work, okay? So we've got this, what's the goal of your game, and look, examples, who's your PC, who are the enemies, how do they interact, what's the setting, how do you win, all these kinds of things. And then we have little things where they can kind of mock up what their splash screen is going to look like, your win screen, their lose screen, level 1, level 2. And I say, you must fill this out first, and I have to okay it, and then you have the permission to start your game. Okay, so we do that. So we start. Okay, day 3 or 4, I usually find that they get stuck on one particular kind of little snag that's hard for students in Scratch, which is called a broadcast. And computer science, it's really an event, but Scratch calls it a broadcast. So how do you get multiple things happening at once when one thing happens? Like when the score gets to 10, I want to change the background. I want to, remove some of the characters. I want to put these characters in. I want to, play this music or whatever. That's tricky. So I do have them walk through that. So it's a little bit of, hands-on instruction. We're doing it together, but in the context of their own game, they create their splash screen, the first one that comes up in a game, with a broadcast. Okay. Once they get that going, they build their games. And resources. So as we go along the way, I said, my YouTube channel, I figured out most of the big sticking points. So I know, and I've made videos for all of those. So I anticipate these questions. But there are all kinds of official and unofficial tutorials on Scratch and on YouTube and elsewhere. So they're there. And at the end of week 1 or so, I hand out the rubric. And I don't do that at the beginning because they don't have any idea what any of it means. So I wait till then. So the rubric looks like this. Okay. So you'll notice, I have point values for different things. All right. So I say, now I said, you don't have to wait for me to grade your project. You grade it as you go. You'll know. So does your level 1 work? And that say what that means. Do you have 2 sound effects tied to events in the game? And they can say, oh, I got 1. I need another one. Broadcast, playability, visual appeal, splash screen, does that work? Well, they should have those 10 points already. At least 2 working variables. And I give them examples, time, score, lives, health, etc. And a game over screen. So that adds up to 90. And I say, if you want a 90, there you go. Now, 10 more points if you want to get in where we are. 90 is an A, but it's an A-. I said, that's not bad. That's a good grade. If that's what you want, go for it. But if you want to get higher, here's how you do it. I call it Mr. Irving's category of extra awesomeness. And now this other thing is sometimes they get stuck and they don't know what to do. So I've put, these are suggestions. If you get a working second level going, 6 points, and you can get 4 points for original coded music that works with a game. Not, I downloaded an MP3 and stuck it in there, no. Or I say, feel free to try anything else new and cool and offer to negotiate the points with me. As I said, I can do that. Okay. So that's how that works. And I hand them out and I kind of keep them all kind of going as we go along. Okay. So that's kind of a sample unit. That's kind of how it goes. So the next 3 weeks-ish, and I'm a little flexible on when we finish because I want to see how are we doing? How many people are ready? So I do MBWA, I manage by walking around. I often answer student questions with another question, which drives people crazy. Who have you asked for help before me? What resources in Scratch have you tried? Have you tried my video on this topic? But I do try to be sensitive to student frustration level. I understand, if a student's near tears, I'll tell them. I'm not that heartless, okay? But this is what I've learned. If I tell every student the answer, I become the solution. And that sets up student passivity, which is what I want to avoid at all costs. This is active learning. You take control of your learning, okay? So, and it also clogs up the helpline. I say, do the math. There's 20 people in here. We have a 45-minute period. If I spend 5 minutes, which everybody needs help, 45 divided by 5 is 9. I'll get to 9 students. That's not going to work. It's not sustainable. So, okay, so I find and I announce the student experts. Hey, Matilda knows how to set up a timer. Ask her. And Matilda's like, oh, she's the one who came in saying, I'm not a coder. I don't know. I'm terrible at coding. She's the expert now. And she's like, oh, yes, I am. I am the expert. Yes, I am. And then when she helps somebody else, they also become experts. So the learning spreads throughout the class. Okay. Now I have a rule about helping. My rule is do not touch the other student's keyboard or mouse if you're helping. You're allowed to point to the screen. You can talk, you can gesticulate, but you may not touch their keyboard or mouse. Why? Because that puts them in that passive role. If somebody can sit down and they've got it and they sit down and do it for you, you've learned that they'll do it for you. So I don't want to have the helpee get into a passive role. And then when they get it, they're the new helper for the skill. Now, how do I know this works? And this is the truth. Most students came running into my classroom every day, eager to get started, fired up their computers, logged in, started on their projects every day, and almost every student. That's how I know it works, right? And it sure beats this passive, let's wait for the teacher to start everything. I can't do anything until the person at the front says what to do. And I want to get them out of that passive role. I want them to be active learners. Now I'm going to give you an example of this, okay? So my granddaughter graduated from Navy boot camp and it was live streamed. And it happened to coincide with my 6th grade computer science class that day. And I thought, okay, I never do this, but I cannot miss. This is important. I want to see this. So I put it up. I had 2 big screens, and I could project to the screens and I put it up there. So we have this whole thing going. It's a very, formal military, parade really going on. And kids came in while this was showing. And some of them would ask, what is this? But most of them, believe it or not, just came in, sat down at their computer, loaded up. They were doing mini games they're making with command blocks in Minecraft and got to work. The ones who asked, I said, this is my granddaughter's in here and she's graduating from Navy boot camp. And they'd say, oh, cool. Sit down and get working. Okay, if you know 6th grade, you can appreciate this, okay? So this approach that I have come up with, and I have not invented, I've stolen stuff from everywhere. It combines active learning with student voice and choice and clear expectations for success. That's how it runs. Okay. Now I've just given you a little bit of it. If you want to know more, I'm watching my clock. I have 3 minutes and 14 seconds left. Okay. Let's stay in touch. And I've always been that teacher who always reached out beyond the walls of my building to find other people who thought like me or were doing cool stuff that I wanted to learn about or anything. Okay. So I've always been, so please reach out to me. If you have a question, if you have a niggle, if you have that would never work in my, happy to talk. So my email is bob@crouchingpython.com. My Twitter is at birv2, BIRV2. It's 2 because I'm a junior. My dad is the same. YouTube, you can search for Crouching Python, all one word, capital C, capital P. And I've got my videos there that I'm usually adding to. I've got my Minecraft command block videos and Scratch videos, Python coding, game design videos. And I also have videos of some of the podcasts and interviews that have interviewed me talking about that. So if you'd like, more, which I can hardly believe, but if you would, that's all there, and happy to do it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm actually starting to launch my website for my next venture, which is www.crouchingpython.com. Give us a week to build it out more. I'm just not there yet, but that's going to be a launching spot for finding out about my services, which are I'm offering instruction, curriculum, and consulting. So happy to help people. And my book, which is, there's a link somewhere there. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm trying to get it so it doesn't get blurred. Okay. It's called Hard Fun. Just like it says, Supercharge your middle school computer science classroom with project-based, hands-on, just-in-time learning. It's on sale right now at the Amazon bookstore, half price, I'm telling you. And it's available by ebook, paperback, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. What a deal. I can hardly stand it. Okay. So that's there. It's short. It's to the point. Every sentence is practical. There's not a lot, there's no fluff in here. It's what I do, all of it, why I do it, how I do it, all of the platforms that I use and how I use them. But I always get the question, but you teach middle school. So this obviously can't work elsewhere. And I beg to differ. Yes, it can. I taught high school for decades before I went to middle school, and I used an approach like this. So it can be done if you want to. And my time is just about up. I don't think we're going to have time for questions in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you all for being here today. Oh, there goes my timer. I just made it. So thank you all. Can't wait to hear the other speakers. Have a great day, everybody. Please hit me up if you have a question. Okay. And on to the next. Back to Joe. Thank you. And
Thank you.
keep
Thank you,
fighting the
Bob.
good fight, everybody.
Absolutely.